everyone, my name is Cheyenne Benjamin, and welcome to our webinar series, From University to the Job Market. Thank you for joining us in the month of November, where we provide a guide on how to succeed in university and what to do to appeal to the job market. For more information regarding upcoming events and webinars, join our subscription list or go to our website, shapeyourfuture.us. So without further ado, today we will be talking to a recent university graduate and cybersecurity analyst, Yusrah Soeker. Thanks for joining us, Yusrah.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Okay, well, let's get started. Our first question is, what tips and advice would you give to students on how to succeed in university?
Okay, so my first tip would be to be organized. So make sure you keep tabs on all of your tests, all of your assignments, all of the due dates that you possibly have. So that way you can always be on the ball and you don't miss anything. Also, keep up with your emails. That way you can find anything important that your lecturer has sent you. So maybe a change in due date, maybe a change in test. And then my second tip would be to attend all of your lectures, because that way you can actively engage with your lecturers and your peers, and that way you can learn much more. Also, join clubs and join societies if you possibly can, so that you aren't always focused on just your university work. That way you can be like all-rounded. And then my third tip would be to surround yourself with people that are focused and that are willing to work. Don't surround yourself with people that aren't at university to study and just need to play games and stuff. Surround yourself with good people who have good work ethic.
Well, that's some really good advice, actually. And somebody that we interviewed earlier this week gave quite similar advice. So I guess it is quite a trend to specifically engage and become friends with like-minded people so that you don't stray too far from the path of success. Okay, so moving on to our second question, what are some challenges that students may face when transitioning from high school to university?
I would say that the workload in university is very different from the workload in high school. In university, you get way more work, way more assignments, way more practicals. You also get tests, which you don't get in high school. I would also say that in university, it's very relaxed, so you need to have lots of self-discipline. Because if you don't have self-discipline, you'll really struggle because you won't be able to keep up with all of the work that you have been getting. I would also say that the environment is very different. There's a lot of different people, different age groups, very different to high school. And I would say the main challenge is in university, also becoming an adult. So you're focusing on the university work and life at the same time. So there's kind of a lot more to deal with. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. I completely agree. University definitely is a completely different world to high school, and not a lot of students are made aware of the challenges in high school that will, I guess, creep up on them in university.
Very true. I agree.
So the next question would be, what is something you wish you knew before you started university?
I wish I knew how to manage my time correctly, because I find it quite difficult to manage my workload while having lots of freedom. I also struggled a lot with self-discipline, so I wish I knew how to become more self-disciplined before starting university. Since we had lots of free time in first year, I personally did not have a lot of subjects. I found it quite difficult to actually sit down and do all of my work when I needed to. Like I would find myself constantly procrastinating, which wasn't good and which resulted in my marks not being the best. But towards the end of the year, I did find myself becoming more self-disciplined because of the terrible marks that I was getting. So I was like, okay, it's time to be focused, be more self-disciplined so I can get the marks that I need to get.
No, I definitely agree. I had the exact same struggle in first year, because obviously, like we spoke about before, the transition from high school to university is completely different. So you really need to teach yourself how to be disciplined. And I think that's something that they should make people aware of in high school or just before even anybody starts university at all.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so our next question is, How can students balance their university and personal lives?
Throughout university, I found it quite easy to do my university work during the week. So Monday through to Friday, I would sit down and do all of my university work. And then I would use my weekends as my time to relax. I'd use that as my free time. So I would only do university work on the weekend if I really needed to. So for example, if I was writing an exam on Monday or Tuesday, I would study over the weekend. But if I was writing Thursday, Friday, I would try to study the week before or within that week. So basically just try to do your university work during the week and use your weekends as time to relax. But ultimately, it comes down to time management and your time management skills. So you also need to find what works best for you. So maybe you like doing your work in the evenings or on the weekend. Just whatever works for you is best.
Okay, so I think the main thing that you're saying is that it genuinely comes down to time management. Everybody needs to handle their time according to what suits them best. But for you, it was doing work in the week and having fun on the weekend.
Indeed.
Okay, so our next question is, how can students make themselves appealing to the job market?
Ooh, okay, so things that students can do to make themselves more appealing is so basically you have a CV, right? And things that look good on your CV are job experience. So you can either get a casual job or maybe get an internship if you possibly can. There are a lot of companies that do offer internships while you're still studying. So if you can juggle that, that is always a good choice to make. Create a LinkedIn profile. So create a LinkedIn account with all the relevant information. That way, recruiters and people that are looking for people that are looking for employees can find your account and contact you if they need to. Also, LinkedIn Learning has free courses that supply certifications once you've completed. So you would watch all the videos in the course, study all the content, and then once you've done doing all of that, you get a certification and you can add that certification onto your LinkedIn profile, and that certification would look more appealing to potential employers. And also, another tip is to engage with your lecturers so that you can get good references on your CV. On your CV as well, it's important to list all of your skills. So maybe you have good word skills, Excel skills, PowerPoint presentation skills. That's also very important to add because a lot of employees also look for the basic skills like that. Another way students can make themselves more appealing is by networking. So finding people in the industry that they would like to work in and kind of create a good relationship bond with them so that if they do need advice or anything else, tips, then they can always go to that specific person and ask, okay, how do I do this? How do I do that? Another way that students can also another way that students can also network is by connecting to various people in the industry via LinkedIn. A lot of people do accept requests on LinkedIn, and you get random people always sending requests to you just so that they can have more connections on LinkedIn and thus giving you more exposure within the industry that you would like to go into. It's also important to note that networking isn't only done on LinkedIn. You can also go up to businesses, go up to stores, and ask them if they have any jobs available, if they have any job shadowing things going on. That is also another way that you can network. You can also, certain universities have events where companies come out and you would go to each of the like table stalls thing, each of the booths, not sure how it's set up, and just find out more about the information, like what they do, what they offer, and they would also give out the contact details, and then that way you can kind of create a relationship there as well.
Okay, so our next question is, what do companies and businesses look for when hiring graduates, employees, or interns?
Okay, usually companies would look for people that are all-rounded, so they want a very balanced person, someone who has good people skills, someone who's also good at their work, someone like that they would like. Also, certain companies look for marks. So I know that at the one company that I applied for, you needed to have a good aggregate. I think it was about 65, 70% before you would even be allowed to apply. A lot of companies also look for certain certifications. So for example, since I work in cybersecurity, it would be, I needed to have a CompTIA Security Plus certification to be able to work at the company that I'm currently working at. Certain companies also look for work experience, not necessarily specifically to the field, but just work experience in general. And companies also look for people that fit within the company's culture. So they wouldn't, not saying they wouldn't accept you as an employee, but they also want to keep up with their brand and make sure that everything fits with the company's brand so they can provide the good quality things that they need to.
No, I definitely agree. And a lot of the times in interviews, companies don't even ask you questions about your marks. They want to know about your personal life so they can get an idea of who you are as a person and what your values are. Because in today's world, anybody can get 90%. So they are looking for that person that stands out, that person that's going to make the company different. Because in a world full of high marks, they're looking for the person that is an all-arounder.
True, and they're looking for someone that knows how to apply that knowledge that they learned in university into the workspace.
Definitely, definitely. So our last question for the day is, when it comes to students with no work experience, what can they do to adequately prepare themselves for the workplace?
Okay, so I personally had this problem because I didn't have any work experience. I didn't have a casual job. I didn't volunteer anyway, nothing like that. I never had a previous internship. So the thing I did was I did the LinkedIn learning courses that I spoke about before, and I got a few certifications there, which I put on my LinkedIn profile. And I also got a Security Plus certification. So you can get a certification that is needed by the company or within the field. You could also do volunteer work for free. So maybe some companies are looking for students that would like to volunteer. You could also possibly do job shadowing. A lot of companies do allow for students to come in and job shadow for a few days or maybe even a few weeks. And in that way, you can really engage in what content is being used in the workplace, like what you learned in university that's being used in the specific workplace, things like that, and how to apply the knowledge that you used into the workplace. So that way, if you do have job shadow experience, volunteering experience, the adjustment from university to the workplace wouldn't be as hectic.
Okay, well, thank you so much for meeting with us today and giving us such wonderful advice.
Thank you for having me.